That's why I also think that this framing is so important, because even people that are very supportive and sympathetic to Bitcoin fall victim to this idea, partly, I believe, for appearances, but also because there is a psyop. It is easy to look at the U.S. Navy and the function that it does in protecting waterways and saying, how would you do that? Well, there's a reality that you can fund certain things with Bitcoin too, right? It's just that if you want to fund your operations as the government, in the future, you're just going to have to come back to the American people and ask them either via taxes or bonds that are funded with real money, whether that activity is actually something that the American people want to support, not what the uniparty that just horse trades back and forward or back and forth and doesn't actually have to go back to the people for consent.
River's the best place to buy Bitcoin. Go to river.com/TFTC, sign up today, set up an account, and start stacking sats. Back to the video.
I guess they beat around the bush, maybe pussyfoot. Maybe it's because they've been psyoped. Maybe they understand the gravity of Bitcoin's success. That's one thing I'm proud and happy that you're doing, is getting out there saying, no, own it. I mean, you referenced Michael Goldstein's 2019 BitBlock Boom presentation and your presentation, and I think that was actually powerful. I was there in person. We were both there in person when he gave that speech, and like owning the frame and really owning what Bitcoin is. Like, no, like it's okay to acknowledge that Bitcoin is the best money ever, and it will eventually replace the dollar. And that's a good thing for Americans, because Bitcoin, there's nothing more American than Bitcoin, which is the next argument we have to put forth is, if the US dollar is working against the interest of the American people, how does Bitcoin work for their interest?
So first, shout out to Michael Goldstein, Nakamoto Institute. For anybody who hasn't seen that presentation, I think it was 2019. BitBlock Boom. He basically gave a presentation about how to meme Bitcoin.
The art of Bitcoin rhetoric.
The art of Bitcoin rhetoric. And in part of that talk, it was a very funny talk, worth certainly watching, but a lot of truth to it. There's always a lot of truth in memes. He talked about how it's important that while everything is good for Bitcoin, there's no bad news for Bitcoin, and that the right position is to be maximally bullish and then address nuance from there. And so in this context, when someone talks about how, and he also talks about how to reframe. If someone's framing Bitcoin in bad light, you have to grab their framing and reframe it. When you think about that in this context, when people raise this idea that the dollar is patriotic and that if Bitcoin's competing with the dollar, that's bad for America. Two things applying the logic from the art of Bitstein's rhetoric is, and these are my words, not his, but applying that logic, it's first reframe. No, the dollar's not patriotic. Let's debunk that. It's not in the interest of national security. Let's debunk that. And also, by the way, maximally bullish, Bitcoin is threatening the dollar. That's how great Bitcoin is. The government has had a monopoly on money. And 6 years ago, Steve Mnuchin was saying, 6 years from now, I'm not going to be having to talk about Bitcoin. Now he's not Treasury Secretary anymore, but somebody is, and they're having to talk about Bitcoin. That's very bullish. That's how great Bitcoin is, that it's so great that we're even having this discussion, that powerful interests are starting to pay attention to Bitcoin, and we're not going to let those powerful interests frame it. We're going to provide the correct frame, which is the dollar is not patriotic, by the way, and Bitcoin is the thing that most aligns with both the individual, as a result, add enough of those individuals up, the American people, and certainly the structure of government. And so kind of rejecting that first frame and reframing and then leaning into it and addressing that it's only relevant because Bitcoin's winning. This is what winning looks like.